Tom Quinn asks, Trump has been reluctantly embraced by establishment Republicans. How well do you think he will mesh with the Ryans, etc.? And is Trump's Republicanism the seed of a new Republican Party ideology? What do you think? Keep up the good work. I so appreciate your colorblind humanity. Thank you. Well, thank you for being a viewer. Now, I think he'll mesh well because they have no choice. I mean, the people are spoken. There's such a groundswell behind Trump that if they don't do right, meaning the establishment that is, they're going to have problems with their own re-elections and everything else. So they have no choice. And I think he will have to be the new brand, yes. And I think it's not even Trump's fault. It's really Obama's fault. And I'll explain briefly. When Obama got elected, that changed the whole paradigm because before that you had just white male. And now you got a black male twice. So how you going to top that? Right? You can only have another Democrat in there. And what they did was they put a woman in there. Like that was the plan, to have the paradigm change, to have either the black male or the female, to change it from being white male, because the Democrats, their whole thing is inclusion and stuff like that. That's what their brand is supposed to be on, even though it's not that. So a white male Republican has no chance anymore unless you do something kind of outlandish like Trump is doing. By default, from them not playing offense, now they got to play defense, because they should have been the ones that came out first with a different kind of candidate to preempt what the Democrats are doing. So now they're doing it afterwards, and you got to go to the extreme of Donald Trump. So hopefully he'll be able to reinstall conservative values into the nation. And then the next time we come up for president, you can have a regular guy in there, but that may not be able to be the case. Rip Cod, Valerie H, Don Powers, Mr. Teddy's Dad 1, Worm Trainer, Take Wise Action, all ask, have you ever considered running for office? Yes, I have. I've been asked this question several times throughout the years, actually. Quick story. I was in West Virginia one time, 2 years ago, and I was in the mall. This was like Mother's Day. You know, it was also, I think, my grandmother's birthday. So I'm in there getting cards for all of them in the mall in Charleston, West Virginia. So as I'm in there, I see my other aunt. And then, I speak to her or whatever. And she asked me, hey, did you win? I'm like, did I win? Did I win what? It's like, well, I thought you were trying to be the mayor. It's like, nah, I was just posting things on my Facebook to show that I was helping somebody else try to become the mayor. I think she knew that, but she was just saying, she took the opportunity to say, hey, you could just start from city council and work your way up. And I've had a lot of encounters like that. I've had people in local politics call me and kind of plead with me and say, hey, you need to get in politics. You can make some money. Do it. So I may, it's a lot of paths I can go that I've been thinking about over the past few months and a few years, really. So I may. Craig Brown, what's your favorite sport? Football. 100%. I like basketball too, but definitely football. But basketball is a close tie. I enjoy playing basketball more, even though I'm not good at all. I am 6'3", so I can play a little bit, but football I like more. I like the strategy of football. I like the science behind it. Chris Russo, Evo Rain, Dat Showbiz, Zoe Tokyo, and Pierre Beneby all ask, single, wife and kids? Yes, I am single. I love women. I absolutely love women. I could have had kids by now, but I didn't want to be like the kind of guy just squirt out kids without being married to the mother. And I've not been married yet. So, I'm dating. I'm out here. So if you see me in Virginia, and if you like what I do and you're a nice young lady, I say, come on and holler at me. Holler at me right now. We can go ahead and, do whatever. CW Rob, John Smith, personal. Do you have any pets? What are they? Do you carry a pocket knife and a flashlight? Let's see them. What are some of your other hobbies and interests? I don't have any pets. Pocket knife or flashlight? Well, I have a flashlight right here. Pocket knife. Yes, I have a pocket knife. Where is it at? I don't even know where it's at. It's somewhere around here, but it's just a basic little pocket knife. It ain't really nothing major. Hobbies and interests. I'm definitely into gaming. I love gaming. I'm a big time gamer. I just finished Odin Sphere, Left Razor, and before that I played Doom. I'll probably go pick up what I probably pick. I probably get Wolfenstein, The New Order on PS4, and I also game on PC Master Race. Shout out to y'all. And I'm also into exercising. I could do 100 push-ups effortlessly, probably close to 200 with a little bit of effort right now. So I exercise daily. I'm into eating healthy. I cook. I'm almost a chef at this point. But exercise and gaming, that's my two major things, right? And going to sporting events. I like sporting events, baseball games, football games, stuff like that. About the show, what are your plans for the show format? Guest interviews, maybe co-hosts? Could you have a green screen behind you and put up other backgrounds? I see other people do that, and it looks pretty sharp. Well, I may do green screen. I thought about that. I'll probably get a chroma key background. I've already thought about that, and I already see when I'm going to get it on Amazon, but I did these back here recently to kind of spruce up the background a little bit. I didn't want to be a stark white wall, and I didn't want to just have it look like, I'm in a band or something like that. So I'm definitely going to do that. As far as having guests, maybe I will. I prefer podcast stuff more because podcast stuff, you get to, I prefer going on someone's podcast where they do a lot of the work as far as production is concerned. All I got to do is show up and talk and answer questions. I think that's easier for me to do. So then that way they can just send me the file and I can just upload the piece that I need to upload. If it's a 2-hour podcast and I come on for 30 minutes to talk, I can just cut the 30 minutes out and upload it. And that's good content. So definitely want to do more of those. Definitely want to do more podcast stuff. If you want to hit me up for a podcast, look in the description box below and email me directly on my website, anthonyblogan.com/contact. Go there. And if you want me on your podcast or something like that, just show me your previous podcast because I want to kind of see what you're talking about a little bit first. Not as far as what you're going to ask me, but as far as what your show format is. Race relations. In your description, you describe yourself as a young black conservative. How about you break down who you are trying to reach and your thinking on how it's important? And by the way, you said you were 32 in the video, but I'm not going to call you out for saying young. Well, look, I look pretty young in my humble opinion. I feel pretty young, so that's all that really matters, but I digress. Now, I'm not really trying to reach anybody in particular, except for those that are trying to find the truth. That's what I'm trying to reach. It's not a matter of a demographic I'm trying to reach as far as race. It's about people that want to hear the truth. And me being a black conservative matters because I can say things that a white conservative cannot say. So that's why it matters. Operation Roman asks, what's your expectation for the future president of the United States? Well, just to abide by the will of the people and be honest. That's all. That's all you can do, really. And hopefully install more conservative principles into the United States. It's not going to be HRC, the old frail lady. So you already know who you got to vote for. Well, you know who you should vote for. Cherry Ken asks, do you think Hillary is working for someone else other than us? Of course. Globalists, George Soros, the usual suspects, people that fund her campaign, Saudi Arabia, whoever, the highest bidder, really. That's all that is. She works for people that pay, that fund the campaign. Jasemus Cherished as, if you had to live anywhere except America, where would it be and why? Somewhere in Europe, maybe like somewhere in Europe where you got a nice quality of living, but you don't have the Muslim horde invading. I love to go to UK, France, but if I gotta live next to, Allahu Akbar 5 times a day in my window, I'm not with that. Maybe China. Yeah, a not so polluted city in China where you can breathe a little bit. Maybe Japan, Singapore, maybe even South Africa in a safe place. That's pretty much it. Maybe an island that's not part of the U.S., Jamaica, somewhere like that. But I still love the United States. I think this is the best country in the world. I love it. I love my country. I would not want to leave here for anything, really. Tommy Two Chips asks, please help me. I'm a Republican. I'm the only Republican in my family. I'm the first Republican on my father in 2 generations and on my mother's side in 2 generations. My question is this. Was there ever a party switch? Did the Southern racist Democrats become Republicans and vice versa? I am seeing evidence of both. What do you say? No, there was not a party switch. What happened was that people changed. The general ideology of people has not changed. And I'll prove that to you without going through a whole big long explanation. Now, the Democrats were the ones that had slaves. Republicans did not come about until 1854. And slavery was over less than 10 years later. Right? The Democrats were the ones that had the slaves all the way up until that point. And their whole explanation behind slavery was that, hey, somebody got to do the labor. We're giving them, shelter, food, clothing, etc. And now the Democrats, what they say? They say, oh, we need to have illegal immigrants to do the jobs that Americans won't do for next to nothing, for low wage. You see, they want to have people come in and do cheap labor stuff for under the table, next to nothing. They want to have a high minimum wage so they can pay undocumented workers less than that amount to keep regular Americans out of their work so they can make more money. Democrats are the slavers, and they always have been, and they always will be. Kyle Clark asks, I'm an independent and I feel like America is too obsessed with their own political parties. Are there ever times you would disagree with conservatives? I find myself a liberal on some issues, but a conservative on others. And it bugs me when people can't see that good on both sides. Well, I think people are not necessarily obsessed with political parties. It's more about political ideology. Being a conservative, being a liberal. And it's not, I don't think it's a big problem, except for when people just don't understand what they're talking about. A lot of individuals are ignorant, and that can be a problem. Jerry Mouse asks, do you know who Robert U.B. Coon Perkins is? And if so, what do you think about him? Never heard of him. Iron Apache, Rooney Senpai, and Christian Schaefer asks, also, what kind of firearms do you own if you do? I cannot talk about firearms because I don't want nobody to be, do nothing funny. But I definitely enjoy the Second Amendment. I say everyone should be armed. And if I did have anything, it would not be illegal. Mr. and Mrs. Forever. What's a good town in West Virginia or Virginia that does not come across as racist? We're moving to North Carolina till I brought my daughter's friend. And we have biracial grandbabies. So what's a good place? Anywhere, really. In my family, interracial stuff is common. I got a bunch of white aunts. I got a cousin that's married to a white male. So that's not really nothing that's that major. That's normal stuff in West Virginia. Biracial kids. I say just move anywhere that's not too far, put to the hollows and into the mountains. Like very, very small places. Lewisburg is good. That's right there on the line of Virginia and West Virginia. Charleston is good. Maybe even Beckley. Huntington got a little problem with crime because of people coming from Detroit, but it's not that bad. I say move wherever you want. In Virginia, where I'm at, Hampton Roads is pretty good. Virginia Beach, Norfolk. Don't go to Norfolk or Portsmouth because you got a lot of black on white crime and black crime in general. Chesapeake is good. Parts of Virginia Beach are good. Suffolk is pretty good. Maybe even as far like Petersburg, Franklin, small towns like that. They're okay. Maybe even Richmond, but not in a ghetto area. Maybe like Henrico, Mechanicsville, places like that. Or if you got a little bit of money, go to like Fredericksburg. That's a very nice area. Sadell Sidney asks, can you date a woman who is liberated? What's the extent to her liberalism you can tolerate? Smiley face. Well, I don't mind dating liberal women. That's fine. Just as long as you don't try to argue with me about politics. As long as you can pretty much just keep your mouth shut, I'm good. Brett Galloway asks, do you think religion and politics should be separate? Well, I mean, not necessarily, but yes and no. I mean, if a place has an accepted rule of law that includes some religion, that's fine. But I don't think it should be strictly based on religion. Like, I don't think it should be going in the Bible, looking at verses and saying, okay, this is going to be a law. Right. But I think that you should be able to respect people's religion and not force them to do things that infringe upon their religion, especially if their religion is the dominant one. Just like the Hobby Lobby situation, I think that was unfair to try and say that they got to provide birth control, which was really abortifacient medication, medication that causes abortion. That's against your religious beliefs. I think that should be involved with politics that way when you're trying to infringe upon people's rights, to force them to accept abortion and to force them to pay for abortion when that does not go with their religious ideology. So I think that it should be part of politics at times, but not all the time. A piece of molded clay asks, are you going to do videos where you interact with citizens? Maybe so. But right now I like doing what I'm doing. I think what I'll do first is do some more podcast stuff, but maybe in the future, yes. Hulaman ET asks, what makes you think you're qualified to comment on inner city issues when you have no experience of ever having lived in the inner city? Well, you really don't know who I am, sir or ma'am. Like I say, I come from West Virginia originally. My father had a trailer, a single wide trailer. He owned the land that it was on. We moved down here to Virginia, but he got transferred from his job working at a place called Moore's. It's kind of like a Home Depot. It's not around anymore, but that's where he worked. And when we moved straight to the inner city in downtown Newport News, right on the corner of Jefferson and Mercury, right by the JRB. And if you know anything about Newport News in Virginia, you know exactly what it is. It's right there in the ghetto, downtown Newport News. So, and then we lived there for a little while, and then we came to Portsmouth, which is kind of like inner city area. Small city, but I lived in urban areas my whole life. I used to hear gunshots. I remember, having to duck down for gunshots. Sometimes you had to get in the tub if it was like a whole lot of gunshots. So, yeah, I lived in those areas up until like I turned 14 when we had the crackhead crash at the back of my mom's car in the middle of the night when we got woken up by the police. Reese Durning asks, who is your least favorite figure in international politics right now? Definitely Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel, hands down. You opening the floodgates to the horde of the Islamic invasion into the central part of Europe, right there in Allemagne, Deutschland, and Germany. Bad mojo. Hellbound and Dr. Decker both ask, hi Anthony, what's going on? I'd like to thank you for your hard work and getting the message out there. I would also like to ask if you follow any other YouTubers on YouTube within the anti-SJW movement. If so, have you considered working on collaborations with said YouTubers? Yes. Like I said earlier, Tree of Logic, she's one. Some Black Guy, Sargon of Akkad, Dave Rubin, Lotta Crowder. And I would love to be on a podcast or anything like that with any of them. So yes, definitely a collab if that materializes. Iron Apache asks, do you think that there is possibility of an actual revolution? People not really built for that. Everybody's on their iPhone. Everybody's watching Dancing with the Stars. Ain't nobody built for that. And then once Tiananmen Square happens, people just gonna just fall back. J Smilo 19 asks, what do you think is the best way to stop globalism from changing American values and way of life? Just speak out against it. Speak out against it. Be verbal and do it often. And just don't cave into what they try to do. Vote differently. Vote for individuals that you think are gonna be against that. Pierre Benenby asks, and Michelle Wiley asked a similar question, but she did not ask this particular question. Pierre Benenby asks, hey ABL, what's going on? Your work is very inspiring. My questions, where do you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years? Are you married? If not, as a Black man, will you marry inside or outside of the community? The Black community. I'm sure you know what I mean. I was never respected by Blacks down here in South Florida since I spoke correctly, dressed properly, and had good grades. Once I recognize this divide, it makes it near impossible to marry someone within that community. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to your video. Well, I'm open to whatever. I've dated white women before. I've dated Asian women, Black women. So it really don't even really matter to me. Whoever likes me, and if I like them, and we got, physical attraction, that's all that matters. So it really don't even matter. If I was you, I wouldn't be so focused on trying to marry somebody from the Black community. Just marry whoever likes you. And if you like them, that's all that matters. All the race stuff don't mean anything. If somebody likes you, somebody respects you, you can't force that on them. Either they do or they don't. Ethan William asks, who is your favorite candidate who can't be voted on because they didn't win the nomination? Rand Paul. I like Rand Paul when he was running, but unfortunately, he's just not a strong candidate. But I like Rand Paul, and he would be a better libertarian candidate than Gary the Fool Johnson. The individualist asks, did you see the signaling Hillary was giving Lester? Did you notice the flesh-colored earpiece in their left ear? I didn't see any of that. Michael D. Towley asks, what percentage of Black Americans are patriotic? I can't really quantify that. I really don't know. I say about 30% of us are upstanding citizens, as far as you could pretty much count on 30% of the Black community not being involved in any kind of BS at all, forward thinking, not too much like on the left. I'm not saying that the 70% are all bad, but 30% can push the community forward. But the other 70% are just in bad conditions. So out of that, I can't really say who's patriotic and who's not. Alicia Bell asks, top 4 places you would like to visit and why? Also, can you hold Hillary Clinton accountable without attacking her age? Thank you. You are awesome. Well, thank you for your question. Top 4 places I'd like to visit. Definitely want to go to Japan. I just want to see the culture. The culture looks crazy. I've heard about, Tokyo. I've heard about different places. I had a Dragon Ball Z comic way back in like a coloring book that had the left. Like I had all of that type of stuff. So I definitely want to go there. Definitely want to go to China. I definitely want to go to somewhere in Africa, probably Nigeria, maybe Ghana, Togo, Benin, places like that. West Africa, to see some of my kinfolk, to see people that look just like me. Definitely want to go to some kind of Caribbean island, maybe Jamaica, Haiti or somewhere like that. And maybe like Australia, and also places in Europe too. I know it's more than 4, but I just want to see more of the world. I just want to see more of the world and see what it has to offer and see different cultures. And Hillary's age is up for grabs. It is what it is. She's almost 70 years old. That's going to come into question when you're talking about, does she have the stamina to be the president? If you get into being in your 70s, you're starting to have age-related ailments. That can be a problem. Oh, pity me? Okay, oh, pity me. Asks, do you support the concept of white nationalism in white countries? Obviously, Black people have every right to exist and thrive in America, as they were taken there and helped build the country and are an important part of its history. But that is not the case of European countries. I say go for it, but you've already kind of like rung the bell that can't really be unrung, especially in places like UK, France. I mean, how are you going to make that be a white nationalist place? You can't really do it. Maybe places like Iceland, go to Reykjavik and do it there, or Greenland, or somewhere far, Finland, Norway, something like that. You could do it up there because it's very cold. It's not very attractive to the average non-white person. So you could do it up there, but try and do it here in America. It's never going to work. Western Europe, it ain't going to work. Maybe somewhere like Ukraine or something like that. Russia, maybe. But Russia's not even really white either, but I digress. Whole point is maybe you could do it somewhere like very far, Arctic Circle, something like that. Yes. And that's fine. Because if you go to Africa, it's the same thing. And I support Black nationalists, white nationalists, Asian nationalists, or whatever. But you can't really expel people to be able to do it, especially if you invited them before or brought them over. MP517Q asks, why do you have a blind eye towards racism? Why do you neglect to report stories that don't support your narrative? I mean, give me some stories of racism that really have affected Black people. I mean, a blind eye towards what? Give me some stories that are legitimate, and then we'll talk about it. I talk about racism all the time as it comes from the Democrats. I got a whole big movie review about the Hillary's America when I talk about the racist history of the Democrat Party and all the racist white folks like Woodrow Wilson, who played Birth of a Nation in the White House, who else? Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood, who had the intended purpose to exterminate the Black population. Look at Hillary Clinton, what she did to Haiti, a Black nation. So when you say I turn the blind eye to racism, maybe it's just I turn the blind eye to what you think is racism and not what is real. Gestor, what TV shows do you watch? I hate TV. I hate TV. I do not like TV. And the funny thing, I used to be an avid TV watcher. I used to watch a show called The Strain on FX. I used to watch a show called Extant with Holly Berry just last year. And before that, I was into TV heavy. When I was a kid, New York Undercover, the X-Men cartoons, all that kind of stuff. A lot of shows I watched. I watched True Blood. I watched The Wire. But now I feel like TV is a dying format. And when I watch TV, it's too formulaic. And it's easy for me to instantly know what's going to happen. I tried to watch The Strain the other day. They got a new season that came out. I was looking forward to it because last year I kind of enjoyed it. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's look forward to this year. And I watched it and I'm sitting there. I'm on my phone. I'm just like, this is just not capturing me. I felt like it was just very formulaic. I could tell what was going to happen. It was nothing that could keep me. It was boring. TV is boring. I like live sports because you can't really tell what's going to happen from play to play. People get hurt. It's all kind of, things you can't account for, weather or whatever. And the same thing with the news. I like the news because stuff that's happening right now. Somebody got robbed or, it's a thunderstorm coming. There's always something different, something new, and something that's happening right now. That's why I enjoy reporting on the news because it's always something new and a different way to approach it each time. But with TV, there's only like certain little formats you follow and it's easy to predict. So, I like podcasts. Like I said earlier, kind of funny. I like Jalen and Jacoby, their podcast. Even though I don't like Jalen all the time, he kind of gets on the whole Black Lives Matter tip. But I like their podcast because it's about current events and you can't really tell where they're going to go, except for a certain little key tropes they use, but I digress. Resdog 187 asks, why don't more Black Americans know the history of the Democratic Party and the reason minorities left the Republican Party, specifically the institution of welfare? Minority left the Republican Party to the Democrats for financial reasons, knowing all along they were joining the party of discrimination. It was a devil's choice. The Democratic Party has always been a party of discrimination and persecution, i.e. the Klan, Jim Crow laws, etc. all came from Democrats. Republicans have always fought for equality, so why don't more minorities come back to the party that really cares about them? Because you got too many individuals that have been brainwashed by the Democrats to say that Democrats love them. And you had the 90s, which were very good for blacks. People don't understand that a lot of that came from Ronald Reagan's policies that affected the 90s. They think that Bill Clinton did that, but he really didn't. A lot of what Bill Clinton did led to the 2008 financial crisis when you gave out those ghetto loans, because he came up with the rule that said banks had to lend to those in the area that they were servicing and those that had accounts. So all that did was just create the subprime mortgage crisis because people got loans that should not have had them. Right. So people don't really understand that, but you're dealing with individuals that don't really think too well and they're easily led astray, unfortunately. Devion Colford asks, I'm 18, black, obviously, LOL, from the south side of Chicago. I was raised and indoctrinated into the vote Democrat, never Republican, white people, this, that. Since middle school, I no longer judge by race, and since your channel and a few others, I do plan to vote Republican, something I've never even considered. My question, will Trump actually get anything done, or will the House and Senate just block everything or water it down until it has no impact? Well, I think he will get a lot done because of him being a conservative. Understand that we got the House and the Senate right now, and that's not going to change because people are revolting against the Democrats. People don't like the direction the Democrats are taking the country, so we're voting against that. We're going to keep that up after the election happens, so I think he'll be able to get a lot done. Anonymous email. Like you, I'm also from Hampton Roads. I lived in Portsmouth, a neighborhood called Churchland North. Shout out to Churchland North. I'm gonna continue reading your question, but shout out to y'all. I know exactly where you at. Peachtree, Pepperwood, Twin Pines, all of that. But I digress. He continues, when I was younger and now I'm staying in Virginia Beach. I'm currently a senior at Norfolk State University, majoring in computer sciences. Shout out to the green and gold. Last night was a screening of Nate Parker's, as you know, is also from Norfolk, Birth of a Nation film. I got a chance to see it, and my questions are, how do you feel about Nate Parker remaking this movie? What do you think about Nate Parker as a person? How do you feel about Nat Turner's rebellion in general? And do you think this movie will have an impact on the upcoming election? Well, I think the movie is just, it's not really a remake as far as I know. It's just like kind of a slave movie that has the same name to try and change it. So it's whatever. I haven't really seen the movie, so I can't give an opinion on it one way or the other. I don't think that it will have an impact on the election because it's just going to kind of preach to the choir, so to speak. Those people that think that the rebellion was good and that what Nate Parker is doing is good, they're going to enjoy it. And those people have already had their mind made up. So I don't think it will impact the election. Constance Kendall asks, have you thought about a way to bring black conservatives together and discuss issues on a panel like the liberal media does? Do you want to bring others into a podcast? I like to do a podcast with other black conservatives, yes. As far as some kind of platform, I'm not really sure what that could be. I think everybody pretty much operating their own platforms is good. And then we can kind of get together and collab. And as we collab, we can just make a larger presence and just keep pushing. I think that'd be the best thing. Trying to come together and have like a network or something like that, that's not really my thing. Is it Michael asks, what do you think about the mass media brainwashing surrounding Trump's candidacy, if you think there is any? Oh, of course there is. But I think people are waking up to it. I think more individuals are seeing what's going on and they're starting to rebel against it. So I don't think this will last too much longer. Joe Flirty the Third asks, what do you think needs to change in this world in order for your message of accountability and hard work to reach the masses and actually stick? Well, it's got to keep getting hammered home. It's got to keep getting hammered home, and there has to be some kind of follow-up with policy. Like I said earlier, get rid of the welfare state, stop incentivizing children to be born outside the wedlock, and maybe reverse some of the cultural Marxism. You know, on TV right now, you got homosexual families just kind of being pushed to the forefront. Nothing against gay people, but that is not the majority of people. And if you have homosexuality dominating the nation, you can't have children be produced. Get rid of a lot of these abortion mills. Just a lot of the degeneracy that is perpetuated in the media and in general culture is causing a problem. People need to get more back into religion because it helps them to get away from degeneracy. Tanya Porter asks, what are some of the most fair and balanced sources for news on the web, in your opinion? So many learn one way or the other, and the middle seems to be called conspiracy theorists. Also, what are your thoughts on Mr. Savage having his show yanked and censored? Are you worried about yours? Well, I think it's kind of hard to find a fair and balanced news source because it's really just in the eye of the beholder. You know, some may think I'm fair and balanced. Some may think I'm like a right-wing nut job. It all depends on you. I say just gather information from a variety of different sources to come up with your own opinion. And as far as my show being in danger, I'm not worried about it. I'm good. And Michael said, and I don't know too much about the situation with Savage. I don't know really what happened, so I can't comment on that. Spelunker Jones asks, have you ever done any voice work? No, I haven't, but if it came to me, if the opportunity presented itself, I'd like to do it. An anonymous person asked me, where have I been outside of the U.S. and what states have I visited? I've been to West Virginia, obviously where I'm from, Virginia, Maryland. I've been to New York, North Carolina, Georgia, Delaware. Where else? Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. I may have been to California one time. I'm not quite sure if I've been to California yet. But yeah, I've been to Canada. I went to Niagara Falls for a family reunion one time. I was about 10 years old. And I like to be able to go to Europe. I like to be able to go everywhere, just explore the world. Daniel Ochoeki asks, does the NAACP speak for you and all other people of color? No. It's just an organization that just has parties and gets money. That's it. Nothing else, nothing more. Maybe they come and speak when somebody gets killed, but that's it. Denise Goodwin asks, hi, Anthony. So blessed to have come across your videos. I'm a 55-year-old black woman. My parents always taught us to vote Democratic, so I always did. I got caught up in the hype of the Obama being the first black president mess and voted for him both times. I will always regret my decision, and frankly, I'm ashamed to admit it. So this election, I've done my research on both candidates, and my conclusion is Trump 100%. He especially got me when he said that, what do you have to lose? And I said out loud, not a damn thing. At 55, I'm working 2 jobs just to maintain a decent living and I don't expect government to solve all the problems, but damn, can I at least get some crumbs? Well, I know that wasn't really a question, but thank you for your testimony. There's a lot of people just like you out there, so don't feel like you're alone. You know, there's a lot of us out here that message me privately and say the same thing. So don't be alone. Don't feel like you're alone. You're with family. You're with friends now. Patrick Ulmer asks, have you suffered any consequences from making this show, business or personal? No, I have not. No consequences. It's all been positive. Making this show was the best decision I ever made in my life. I've not had any consequences. There was no fear. Some people may be afraid. They may say, well, I may lose friends and family. I ain't lost nothing. I've only gained. You know, some people just don't like what I do. Some so-called friends. But like I said earlier, if you lose a friend because you have a different political opinion, that was not your friend from the beginning. So I haven't lost anything. I've only gained. You know, I've gained a lot of money. I've gained a lot of people I've gained support from all over the world. I've gained confidence. I've gained an ability to see myself having a real future. I've not lost anything. And it all just comes from me being honest and telling the truth. I'm not trying to be a character or anything. I'm just being myself 100%. I'm too random. GHGH asks, where do you fall on the libertarian authoritarian spectrum? I'm not really sure. I think I've seen what you're talking about. This website you can go on and you can see where you fall on the quadrant or whatever. I don't know. I'm like a centrist if according to that little chart. Just Jeff asks, do you think there will be mass riots if Trump wins? Probably so, because there's riots right now. But hopefully we do Tiananmen Square or something to the equivalent to quiet all that down. BIPI, what's going on? I've seen your name a lot in the comments from the beginning. You're a lifer, so shout out to you. How do we get more young people and minorities to vote and support conservatives? Also, do you fish? I'm not far from you. Maybe we can hook up and catch some bass. Keep up the good work, brother. Thank you for your compliment. I think the best way to get more young folks is to have people like myself that can relate to them. People that kind of talk like how they talk, and not in a corny kind of way, but in a way to where it's attractive. They don't feel like they're talking to a guy that's a robot. Have more entertaining videos that kind of gets them involved with it, and just keep pushing the truth, because at the end of the day, you know, young people, they're not dumb. They can understand what's right and what's wrong. And at a certain point, you know, people like Francesca Ramsey, the reason why I've done so many videos against her stuff is because I've seen people on Twitter saying that they've seen her videos being played in colleges and black colleges, stuff like that. So if they see that video when they're in the student lounge and then they get to researching more of her stuff, I want my video to come up so then they can watch that and get a different perspective, so they can see her stuff, they can see my stuff, and come with their own conclusion. Edward Weston and Brian both asked, as someone who's been here, believe it or not, my friend, since 1,000 subscribers, shout out to you. Did you ever think that you become as large as you are today? No, I didn't. I did not think I would get to 50,000 subscribers so soon. When I first started, I was like, okay, I'll probably get 20,000 by the end of the year. I did not have any idea that it would grow so fast, that it would be so much of a groundswell of support. I love all of y'all for changing my life. I mean, I had no idea. Robert Saltzman asks, do you think you live on a spinning ball going around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour? I think, I really don't know. I really don't know what reality is. I mean, this could all be a hologram. I have no idea. MFAS20 and Ziggy Trump 2 both ask, do you have any opinions about Ben Shapiro or Milo Yiannopoulos? Ben Shapiro, I don't like him being never Trump. I don't really like Ben Shapiro that much because of that. Before that, I liked him. You know, I saw what he did about the Black Lives Matter people that were on the stage. They were kind of like tomato cans, people that are easily defeated, don't have a good competition. You know, I think they were easily defeated, so it was easy for him to look good in that circumstance. He has good points at times. Milo, I think what Milo represents is somebody that should be an SJW, but is not. And it's funny to see how SJWs treat him. He's a social experiment walking. So I think he's necessary to have to show how SJWs are truly hateful. It's not about your appearance or affiliation with a certain group, LGBT or whatever. It's about your ideology. That's it. Holly Engel asks, I'm a white female from Oklahoma. I I get so sick of other subscribers call me racist because I don't buy into this whole mentality of black suppression. How do you handle other blacks calling, hating on you? I don't deal with it too much, really. I let y'all deal with it because they're kind of like tomato cans. So I don't waste that much time. And if I do want to waste time, I just hit them with straight facts. And then I do it in a very public way so others can see it. People that are conservative, liberal, or undecided. So then at that point, you can see the conversation and you can see who won or who lost for yourself. LMAO, MEGT. I'm thinking about moving to the US, but I'm myself not religious, but quite conservative on many positions like less regulations, lower taxes, gun rights, national security, etc. And I was wondering which state would align with my views the most, like still conservative, but without the religion. Thank you for your videos. Have a nice day. Well, anywhere, really. Anywhere kind of like in a red state, Texas, Virginia, North Carolina. Just don't move in a very small town and you'll be all right. Anonymous email asks, why do black people use the N-word to describe each other? And do you find it offensive? I think that came about as like from the 70s movies, the blaxploitation movies. And people have just kind of stuck with it since then. It got popular in rap and all of that. So it's kind of a cultural norm. I don't find it offensive. I think it's just stupid, really. Happy Juice asks, who's your favorite musician? Michael Jackson. Aside from his personal stuff, which I disagree with, musically, I mean, there's nobody better. Mike Corder asks, do I know who Larry Elder is? And what do I think about him? And also, what's my faith or other belief system? Larry Elder, I'm definitely a big fan of Larry Elder. I know who he is. Radio talk show host in Los Angeles. A black male in the 60s. Very conservative. I love him. My beliefs, like I said earlier, I'm not necessarily a practicing Christian, but I think more as a Christian. And I think there is a higher power. And I think that there is symmetry in the world that was not possible from evolution. I'm not sure how it came into be. I don't know if it was creation or what, but evolution makes no sense. Raphael F and Kev 3D both asked, what's my favorite music genre? I say heavy metal, not heavy metal, but melodic metal. I love melodic metal right now. I'm listening to Trivium, Omnium Gatherum, bands like that. Rachel F and Kev 3D both asked, what's my favorite music genre? Melodic metal for sure. Right now. Omnium Gatherum, Trivium, bands like that I like because it kind of puts me into a relaxed state, but at the same time, it kind of gets me amped. I like having the contrast of both. I like rap too, but a lot of rap at this point, you got one side is like the SJW type of rap, talking about black oppression, which I don't like to hear because it's a bunch of BS. And then also like the drug addict rap. I don't like people that promote drug use and being a drug addict or something being cool, or drug selling. I'm against drugs. So you kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I like melodic metal because they have simple messages, but the focus is on the music, which I enjoy. Information Curious asks, how do we break the hip hop spell in the African community? Well, you just got to raise your kids better. You know, I grew up around hip hop. You know, my favorite group growing up was Bone Thugs and Harmony. You know, when I was in middle school, I had that tape or the CD in my CD Walkman. I played it every day, but I didn't go out there and gangbang or kill people. And that was like horrorcore. That was like devil rap. I played Doom and all kind of stuff, first person shooters on PC back in the day. But I didn't develop some type of problem because of that, because I had a great mother, a great father, and a great family system. That's the key. Freedom 187 asks, what do you think about Common Core? Do you think the media is biased? Why doesn't the media report anything about negative about Common Core? And last, why are they having Satan clubs in elementary schools? I don't know anything about Satan clubs in the school. Common Core, I don't know a lot about it, so I can't really comment on it too much. I think that if it works well, then it's good. If it does not work well, then it's not good. It's just that simple. I don't really know why people want to have something that does not work as well as what was happening before. And we got to the moon allegedly with not having Common Core, so why do we need to have Common Core now? I don't really get it. Tommy Gatson asks, do you think college players baseball, football, basketball, etc., should get paid to play. I think that they should not. And the reason why is because you will have less players that get the opportunity to get a free education. Because a lot of the men's basketball, men's football, it funds the other programs. It funds other scholarships, and it funds a lot of the whole program. So what you end up with, if players are getting paid to play, like, like a contract with an agent, you end up with some of the best players on a smaller amount of teams and less overall scholarships available to other sports. They probably get closed down because they don't get the money from the big sports that support them, that subsidize them. Now, I think there should be a stipend depending upon what school you go to. I don't think players should be starving and not being able to eat. I think if you go to a school that's a top ranked school with a lot of money, you should be able to get a food stipend or something like that. But if you go into like Old Dominion, if you go into like Norfolk State or some smaller school with a smaller athletic program, then how can they really afford to pay you? But if you go into a Big Ten, something like that, then yeah, get a stipend. Chad Lovelace asks, how much would you charge for a speaking engagement and what would your topics be? I'm not quite sure about the money part of it. I decide upon that a little bit later. But I talk about the same thing I talk about on my channel. Being anti-SJW, talking about how blacks can improve themselves, talking about how republicanism or conservatism is good for America and the black community, and talking about having a nation of law and order rather than chaos. Living the dream. If you're really hungry and you order a pizza, what would be on that pizza? This is a great question. I put mushrooms, diced tomatoes, pepperoni, Italian sausage and meatball, and also spinach. Andy Oakleaf asks, did you have any white friends when you were a kid, and do you have any now? Yes and yes. I pretty much stayed to myself, but I do have people that are white that I associate with, and I had some white friends growing up. Great people. I wasn't racist or nothing like that, but my white friends came about mostly when I got a little bit older and started being around more white folks, because when I was younger, I lived in pretty much 100% black neighborhoods. So I wasn't even really around white folks like that until maybe like 8th grade or later. Panem Ed Surences and Charizard both ask, hi, Anthony, what's going on? First of all, it is very nice that we see you instead of behind the camera commenter. You are very good looking and charismatic. Well, thank you. I was wondering if you're looking at what alternative media outlets one can use since YouTube is owned by Google. They can easily mark all these as hate speech and shut off. There is another YouTube blogger who used to write stuff for HuffPost but was completely terminated once he questioned Hillary's health. His name is Dave Seaman. He's looking at alternative ways to get the information to his people. I'm afraid it's much more serious than I thought, and people like you are pioneers daring to venture into dangerous waters against powerful global elite. Stay strong, and we should all have your back. Thank you. Well, I'm good. I ain't worried about it. So thank you for your comment, but I'm good. I got a nice little support on my social media. So wherever I go, I think y'all will go. So I'm good. Less Visible asks, what type of deodorant do you prefer? Old Spice. Sumaya Bizarro asks, what are currently hardest things to accept in the ideological sphere of everything from feminism to Black Lives Matter? I'm European, yet I follow American politics, but my views may always be skewed because of outside in view. For sake of perspective, what currently is your opinion on most pressing political issues, from immigration, terrorism, social issues, or just housing, politics, whatever, in Europe? Of course, I'm not expecting you to be on top of your knowledge game, much like I would not expect myself to know the ins and outs of American politics. I'm genuinely interested in what you would currently think to be pressing issues in Europe. Well, the hardest things to accept in the ideological sphere, from feminism to Black Lives Matter, it's definitely the Black Lives Matter, man, because that's causing real problems in the streets. That's causing real violence. Feminism is more of a it's kept to just talk for the most part. Well, I take that back. It's causing problems in relationships as well, because women think like, men, you can't really be masculine. And then sometimes you got false rape allegations and stuff like that. But it's less of an impact than the murder. I mean, somebody got murdered at a Black Lives Matter rally. just a regular civilian. And then you had 5 police officers that got murdered. So you got outright killing happening because of Black Lives Matter. So that's a little bit more, well, a lot more egregious than feminism, which is causing just social issues with people, but not the murder that's happening to Black Lives Matter. And as far as Europe, I think you guys' most pressing issues in most of Europe is the banking system, the bankers taking over your place. I see what's going on with Deutsche Bank. I'm not quite sure who's behind that, but that's a problem. You know, you got Greece failing, you got Portugal having problems, you got economic issues over there, and also you got the horde of Islamic invasion coming to France, UK, Austria, Germany, maybe even Sweden, etc. That's a big problem that you got over there. And that's not being kept under control. I mean, I saw the streets of Paris. I saw a video where it was a guy going through Paris. I mean, it was looking like a third world country because you got people that come from third world countries doing the exact same thing they did over there. Just sitting on the ground, defecating, urinating on the floor. It's just ridiculous. So I think that's the biggest problem, the invasion of the third world and the economic system over there in Europe. Hamster in the machine as you broke through the 50K barrier like the Road Runner and flashes past Wile E. Coyote. So my question is, are you related to the Road Runner? Maybe I am. I don't know. I can't call it. Vladimir Ryu and John F. Klein asked, what's wrong in your background? Is it a study? What you mean back here where the Virginia flag is? That's my bedroom. I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's like 900 square feet. Right now I'm in the 2nd bedroom. And all that's in here is what you pretty much see. You see my right here, I got my computer desk. And I'm going to give you a picture of that. And behind me, you got my old Mac computer that I was using for most of my videos. And then you have my bookcase beneath that. And behind that flag over there, that's a closet. I got a few things. I got free weights in there. I got some photo albums. I got some CDs and stuff like that. The pastry thief asks, do you have a day job? Because if so, you should quit it and just keep this amazing channel going. Well, thank you for the compliment. Like I said earlier, I'm a graphic designer. I've been doing that for a long time. I'm freelance. That up until recently was my full time, but now the YouTube has become full time. But I still do the graphic design as well. Gimp Shot Games asks, first I want to say congratulations, Anthony. Proud of you, bro. Thank you. Appreciate it. I know just how hard it is to get subs in today's YouTube. Keep up the good work, man. I do have a question. Do you think YouTube is out for content creators with non-left-leaning beliefs? I mean, is this YouTube hero nonsense? Seems like it's almost aimed directly at conservative or anti-SJW types. Well, I think what YouTube is trying to do is trying to increase ad revenue by stamping out a lot of the harassing kind of YouTube people. I think that's what's going on. I think the conservatives, like myself, are pretty much good. But if you are like a harasser or create a lot of problems, then they're trying to stamp you out. The NYC Solar Dad both asked, hey, Anthony, are you the only child? Yes, I am. I may have siblings out there, but I don't know them. On another topic, have you seen the video of Mary J. Blige holding Hillary Clinton's hand and singing to her about police brutality? It's so bad. The link is below. The guy who I copied the link from on YouTube is Kev on Stage. He's a funny guy. Shout out to Kev on Stage. He's a good YouTuber, kind of a real Christian guy. Funny dude. This is beyond pandering, but I know people will just brush it off by saying Hillary has every right to pander because she works so hard in our communities. Hillary's done nothing in our community. Hillary is just a typical white politician, Democrat trying to get the black vote. That's it. No more, no less. You know, Mary J., that was very strange. You know, I mean, I don't understand why she did that. Probably got paid. One Lucky Punk adds, throughout history, Republicans have put forth very little legislature to try and better the lives of minorities and poor communities and have been diligently blocked attempts by Democrats. The modern conservative candidate Barry Goldwater voted against Civil Rights Bill in 1964, and Republicans have continued to do extensive work to try and limit the turnout and voter registration of African Americans, knowing they mostly vote Democrat. So my question is, why do you feel the Republican Party is better for the black community? Don't just diss Democrats and say they had their chance and did nothing. Please explain why the Republican Party, and specifically what Trump could do, policies, ideals, to better the lives of African Americans and minorities. Well, first of all, your history is wrong here. I mean, the Republicans have always been on the side of black people. They started as an abolitionist movement in 1854, and less than a decade later, slavery was over. Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president, and he was the one that ended slavery, right? And they gave us the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment. They ended slavery. They gave us the right to vote. They gave us full citizenship. They did that, Republicans. And as far as civil rights are concerned, you had more Republicans that voted in favor of civil rights than Democrats did, right? The Democrats are the ones that came out with the minimum wage law and labor unions, which were put into effect in apartheid South Africa to keep blacks away from white society, because a lot of blacks had less skills and less education. So the only thing we had to be able to get jobs during the 1900s and post-slavery was the fact that we would do a job for a smaller amount of money. But then when you had the minimum wage law come into effect, it incentivized employers to not hire black people because you can get a white person for the same amount of money. But before that, they would hire blacks for a lesser amount of money. You see, because their skill level was less and the education was less. Not because of racism. If it was racism, they wouldn't hire us at all. So labor unions were the same thing. They were designed to keep blacks out of jobs, which is why in non-right to work states, you got blacks that are living in very dire conditions. You go to Chicago right now, a lot of skilled laborers are not able to get into labor unions that are black because they're dominated by whites and they don't want blacks in. So, I mean, when you say those things, I think you're just misinformed. I think that when Donald Trump comes into office, he will repeal a lot of these things that keep us out of the labor force. High minimum wages, unions that force you to join, that you're not able to join a lot of times if you're black. Lower taxes, which is going to help us a lot. Keep a lot of our own money. Less taxes on the rich, which will enable rich people to provide more jobs for the black community, which we need. Probably tax-free zones. I think also what we want to do is have school choice, which is something that we definitely need in the black community, because a lot of times we're stuck with poor performing public schools and we don't have a choice to go anywhere else. But with school choice, it's going to create competition, because right now the government has a monopoly on public education. But when you have school choice, that forces the school that is losing students to improve. So therefore, education will improve all around. It's just that simple. Anthony Williams asks, do you own guns? And if so, what's your favorite firearm? Either favorite you own or favorite in general. Also, would you call it wise to call out a BLM supporter in public, especially if one is white? I'll be at college next month. There will be a BLM lecture for student representatives, of which I am one. And frankly, I respect them to a degree. But if they're spouting out stuff like calling that 13-year-old that was shot for pointing a gun at people innocent, I won't stay silent. Well, I can't talk about guns, what I have, but I do like rifles. I like long rifles. I like a AR, a Sit-Hau or something like that. Something that I can be kind of tactical with and move around. Handguns too. Deuce is fine. 22, 9mm, maybe even the big 4.5 or something like that. I like guns like that, but definitely rifles. The ones that I can kind of just move around with and be a lot more mobile. Some may say a handgun's more mobile, but I prefer, the rifle is better because I can kind of be tactical with it a little bit better and get a better ability to aim and shoot. So that's kind of what I like. And as far as confronting somebody in Black Lives Matter when you're in college, I wouldn't say it's necessarily wise or unwise. I say that it's just kind of like a roll of the dice. You really don't know what you're going to get in that situation. Maybe you get a positive outcome, but maybe you won't. It could go left. If you wanted to do that, just be prepared for whatever happens. Daniel Butland asks, bro, I love your commentary. Thank you. I think you're a very well-spoken man. Our shit media is so untrustworthy. I live in Australia and I've never been to USA. TV shows, the media, and your own leader run basic Americans into the ground often. And we are painted a picture that unfortunately BLM has not helped the African American, shows African Americans in a very poor way. I want to know, how do you feel about the slavery in American history? I'm confused because whenever I see people complain about slavery, they only seem to get very angry at the men who bought the slaves from the Muslim and the Jew slave traders in Africa, and never the slave traders that sold them. It was those slave traders, Muslim, Jew, that stole these people from their lands. Well, you know, people just, the SJWs, they have their own view of what America is. They think it's racist, think it's sexist, and everything else. So they're going to push that view regardless. Same thing with Mr. Obama. He's an SJW himself. That's kind of how he started, as a community organizer, which ain't nothing but a fancy word for social justice warrior. So he's going to be in that same lane regardless of what. And it's easy to blame the white man for everything, because white people have been very good at going to foreign lands and conquering and establishing new countries where they are. So it's easy just to point at the white man and say it's your fault, rather than pointing at less successful people that had a role in it. Albert Nkwanazi, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. I see you on Facebook too. Shout out to you. Asks, how will I know that you're going to answer my question? Well, I just did it right there. I said your name. Joey Dembinski, how many years do you give America tops? We're going to be here for a while. What's going to happen is that we're going to balkanize eventually. We're going to break up into little pieces. It'll still be America, but just not under the federal control of DC. It'll be probably like 5 to 6 different states. And that'll happen within 50 years. Betty Kui Kendall says, you were trailer trash just like me. Yes, I was. A lot of people run us down for living in a trailer. I feel that kind of living is just a stepping stone to getting away from it and living a better life. Correct. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you're with the right people, it sounds like you were, as was I. I now live in a 2-story house and my dream has come true. How about you? Well, right now I'm in a very small apartment, but I'll definitely be able to pretty much live wherever I want within the next year or so. And it's definitely a good stepping stone for people to live. And especially in our situation, I had, 2 parents at the time when we lived there in the house. My dad worked, my mom stayed home with me and raised me when I was a baby. So it was all good. Bob Cunningflap says, have you traveled a lot? We invite you to visit us in Phuket. I've not traveled a whole lot, but I love to be able to travel. I love to be able to be wherever you guys are. If you want to bring me to wherever you are, speaking engagement, whatever it is, just hit me up. Go to my website. Seb Bullock R asks, if you could be white, would you? No, I wouldn't, actually. I know that was a troll question, but I'm going to answer it regardless. I love myself. I love who I am. I love being black. I think that being black has a lot of advantages in the world. I think that in America, especially, you get preferential treatment for being black. You get all kind of set-asides, government benefits, and everything else for being black. And I just love myself. So why would I be white? It don't make no sense. Blacker Than Me asks, ABL, what does the blue flag behind represent? That is my state flag of Virginia. Sic Semper Tyrannis is the words that are on the crest. And that means, thus I always bring death to tyrants. So I like the expression, I like the symbol, and I like it being the state flag. And if you can't see, what's happening there is that you got a guy that's stomping over a guy, defeating him, and he has a crown on the floor. So that's a tyrant represented that's being defeated with his crown off and to the side. The Plastic Patty, Sippy, Dippy, Do both ask, what are your hopes and dreams for your personal future? Well, I want to keep doing this. I love what I do. I enjoy reporting the news. I enjoy kind of how I live. I can get up and pretty much do whatever I want. What I want to do is just kind of move around the world, travel, see what's different, date different women and be able to settle down and have a family. That's my goal for the future. As far as money is concerned, I'll be straight. Whatever I decide to do, I'll be all right. I have a lot of different things I could do. I can get into politics. I could become, firefighter, police. Whatever I want to do is right there in front of me. So I got a lot of different opportunities. I just want to keep going forward and keep progressing in a positive way. Nat S, what is your day job? If Trump started his own unbiased news media station, would you be an anchor? Congrats on 50K subscribers. Thank you for your congrats. And like I said earlier, graphic design. But as far as him starting a channel, I'll be with it. But I'm not really one to kind of like give up my sovereignty as an independent journalist. I like to be able to do kind of like guest spots. But that's pretty much it. Dub is iffy asks, any advice for a conservative student going to a very liberal school? Do you believe America can regain its title as the greatest country? Well, to answer your second question first, I think we can regain that title, but it will take work. It won't just happen with happenstance. It's going to take a lot of work. And as far as advice for you or anyone else being a conservative going to a liberal school, I say just focus on your schoolwork, man. Just focus on your work. Don't get involved with a lot of the SJW stuff. Don't get involved with all the arguing. Find like-minded individuals. They don't have to be conservative necessarily, but it's people that agree with you, people that like you. And just be yourself. You don't have to be necessarily somebody that is an outward conservative. Just be you. Amy Anderson asks, do you think all the shootings, stabbings, explosions are happening to distract people from all the corruption going on, including Syria? Well, I think the average person does not even really understand what's going on. They don't need to be distracted any further. Those of us that understand what's going on are not distracted. Daniel Gonzalez asks, what does diversity mean to you? Well, diversity to me means diversity of thought, of different kinds of people. You know, whether you are a pessimist, an optimist, you believe in creationism, evolution, Muslim, Christian, whoever you are as an individual, having a lot of those people around is diverse. But it's been bastardized by the left to mean less white people, which is just a stupid thing to say. WB asks, what are your thoughts on our banking system? Well, I think that it works very well because you've never seen a bank failure to the point where you lose all your money in your lifetime, but that has happened before in history. But I think it's also very corrupt and it has a lot of problems that exist on a deeper level than we can really imagine. So is it perfect? Absolutely not. But does it work very well? Yes. And Daniel Gonzalez asks, were your parents and grandparents conservative? Yes. Very conservative, but not politically. Very, very, very conservative when it comes to just how they are. Let's go back to the pictures. My father was in the military. On the far left, that's my uncle. He was in the military. I think he has on his BDUs. I'm not quite sure what that's called right there. My father's in the center with his work shirt on. And that's my grandfather. We call him Nini. On my mom's side, on the far right, he was very conservative as well. He was like a barber. He used to cut my hair back in the day. And that's in my father's trailer that he owned on land he owned. So a landowner that worked hard, managed a hardware store in West Virginia. I mean, that's conservative. You know, he was in the military. My uncle was in the military. I mean, very conservative, just how they behave. You know, just to even hear a cuss word, like, you notice I don't cuss really. Cussing. Oh no, you don't cuss. Use foul language. No. Very conservative, but politically, no, they were not. Maybe my great grandparents were, but not my grandparents or my parents. Cravey D asks, what part of the Oreo do you like? I like the center. Vasiliji Injak, I'm sorry about your name. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. How did you go from a trailer to an apartment? Well, my father got transferred to a different place and he could not bring the trailer with him. So we had to leave and go to like a townhouse or an apartment. And then shortly thereafter, my parents got divorced and then my mom moved to an apartment. And then we lived in different apartments ever since then. And she got a house eventually. But when I came out on my own, I got my own apartment. So this is where I am right now. Jeff Cook asks, how close to World War III do you think we are? Well, we're here. We're here. I mean, it's already happening. Any escalation would be total destruction. Timothy Jansen asks, why is your voice so badass? That's just my voice. I can't really call it, I think hereditary reasons for that, I suppose. MT White 100, how do you even have the courage to go against your own racial identity? Well, what is my racial identity? Explain that to me. I mean, I love being black. I love who I am. I've been involved with black business for a long time. I've helped a lot of black people make a lot of money over the years. So I don't understand how that makes any sense. Chaz Anastasi asks, does ethnic diversity divide, strengthen, or do nothing of note to a country overall? What are its flaws and flaunts? Thanks, man. Ethnic diversity does not help. Ethnic diversity divides, because what happens is people are not on the same page. It's different if people are different ethnically, but they're still kind of the same kind of people. When that happens, it's okay. But when you have different ethnicities that don't get along, it creates problems. The Unhealthy Gamer and Jelly Bryce both ask, any book recommendations? Not really. I'm more of an article kind of guy. SoCal Chris asks, I met an African-American father at a hotel a few months ago. Me and my girlfriend were playing with his kids, all around great guy. We started talking about politics, mainly Black Lives Matter, and we both agreed that it was an all around bad movement, led by people even worse. But I told him, being from California, that I've never really witnessed racism. And he said in the countless times he's been to Cali, he has never seen or felt any racism. But he did say it was a problem for him growing up in the South with a relatively upper middle class family. Just wondering how often you see racism where you are from. Not often. A lot of that is with older white folks that are not used to being around black people. They don't really understand how to behave. But it's not like anything major. It's more just kind of like being uncomfortable socially. But beyond that, Steve-O and Sippy Doodoo both ask, if you suddenly had $1 million, what would you do with it and why? First of all, I pay taxes on it, pay my taxes, and I probably just stash it off in the bank. I'll probably look into getting property to rent, maybe even to live. I'll probably travel around the world for a while and see kind of where I wanted to settle. It'd be somewhere I think down in the States, but I'll probably travel a little bit to see what I want to do. And I probably would keep doing what I'm doing now, just keep a lot of money in the cut in case I want to kind of expand and do something a little bit different. Justin Paul asks, and what do you think about the UN internet takeover? I don't know much about that. I probably will do a video about that within the next few days, but I got to read up on it a little bit more before I make a video. Caleb Stone asks, which parts of the left are the corrupted and wrong ones and which are still valid? Well, I don't know really. I don't really know what that means. Like which parts, like you mean what people? There's corruption on the left and the right. So I can't really say what parts of the left are corrupted and which ones are not. I think it's just the corrupt individuals that need to be rooted out that are on the left and the right. Batmane, Batmane asks, do you like the old Kanye or the new Kanye? Old Kanye, man. Like this new Kanye, I don't know what's going on with him, man. The Kim Kardashian thing is wearing me out. I don't know what's going on with him. College dropout Kanye, A+. The new Kanye, he's in outer space. Robert the King Fool 1, do you like Jello? It's okay. Big Boss Gaming 1 and Christian Schaefer both asked, what did Donald Trump say to earn your support? Well, he earned my support when I saw how weak the Republican nomination pool was. You know, I like Ben Carson and I liked Rand Paul, but when they were running, it just came across as not really being able to sustain themselves in a campaign against Hillary. And I saw how Trump was just such the alpha in the whole situation and how I knew that he would be the best opportunity to beat Hillary Clinton because all the other candidates were kind of milquetoast at best. Unfortunately, even though I like Rand Paul and Ben Carson and people like Jeb, Jeb was who the Republicans wanted. They put a lot of money behind, like $100 million behind him, but he just was not charismatic. He's goofy. He didn't have it. Trump had everything you wanted and he was anti-PC. That was the key, being anti-PC, because right now the country is being corrupted with political correctness.